Hello?
Hello,
Nikita.
please. Can you make like a map tier list?
A tier list. Yeah, I can make you a tier list.
Good. Bye.
Oh, all right, bye. Without further ado, let's get into it. I think I'll start off with customs. Customs is one of the first maps you actually get into. So I got customs here. Customs I think plays pretty regularly. Some solid loot. The PvP is generally pretty solid. I think customs is a solid B tier map. You know, you can get some good loot. It's not super terrible. I think I actually do really like the map overall a lot, but it still definitely suffers in some areas. Like it's very linear. Like I enjoy customs. I don't have any problems with customs. I have a lot of enjoyment out of customs, but it's like trying to think about how I rate all the maps. Like I feel like inevitably customs gets pushed down compared to other maps. All right, customs B tier, very easily. Let's do Day Factory. Day Factory, I think. How do I feel about Day Factory? I definitely don't like Day Factory. It's just kind of the worst type of combat consistently. I'm feeling a D, but I'm trying to think, and I don't know if there's any maps I actually put in the F tier. I don't know if there's any I put. I'll put it in the D tier for now, and I'll reevaluate if I'm thinking I'm going too soft on all the maps here. So Factory, I think Factory's an D tier. I typically don't like the fights that I get into on Factory. I don't really ever want to go to Factory. And the type of people that you run into on Factory are Giga Chads that play fights in an absolutely crazy manner. I think that's my assessment on Factory. Actually, I think, yeah, no, you know what? I'm gonna put Factory down in the F tier. Because if I'm thinking about it, I think Labs belongs in the D tier. Here, I'll just even move that there now. Labs belongs in the D tier, and the reason why Labs belongs in the D tier, maybe it's a C tier, but I think Labs belongs pretty low because it's plagued by cheaters. It's plagued by people who play the map like they're fucking sociopaths, where they know exactly how to peek every corner. They know exactly where people tend to hold. They know how to throw all the perfect grenades. Normal people don't go to Labs. You get hackers, and you get people who are trying really fucking hard. And so that warps the entire dynamic. Factory is like sort of the same deal. You get rid of all the cheaters, and you just get all the Giga Chads. And you get occasionally people who are like 3 raids into the game, and they're like, somebody said I should go Factory so that I can learn the gun mechanics. I personally think I like Factory less than I like Labs. And this wipe, I really don't like Labs either. Factory and Labs both push into the mechanic of Tarkov, which is like, oh, so netcode just kind of doesn't work when you push angles. So the way you play those maps is you just push angles like sociopaths. And, you know, I'll pull it up to the D tier because I think Factory actually has some really cool map design things. Like I think making it so it's wood in the center and it's a really distinct, memorable wood sound in the center of the factory. And if you know where all of the different materials are laid out, you can actually like echolocate people, which I think is really well done on that map. And the layering and the tunnels and like some interior areas kind of peek out to other areas. It's all done pretty well. Factory is not a bad map. I don't enjoy playing Factory. All right, so we'll do Night Factory next. Night Factory, I think, is a solid... I think Night Factory is a solid A tier. There's a lot of really fun fights. I like living in the rafters like an absolute fucking gremlin being. One of the things I do like about Factory a lot too is the asymmetry of the paths, right? Like each staircase is different. There's some areas where you can push one direction, but you can't push back the same direction. Like you can push out of the rafters, but you can't easily get up into the rafters. You can drop down from high areas, and the people who go Night Factory tend to subscribe to the idea of playing slower and more like a lurking hunter, which I really enjoy. I had Dark Age ask why is Hideout in here. It was on the list. I think Hideout is a great map. It gives me 3 Bitcoins a day, so I'm gonna put it in the S tier. No more needs to be said there, I think. Pretty straightforward. If you give me 2.5 million rubles a day for nothing, I will put you in the S tier. Interchange I really like. Actually, I really like Interchange, but I think they fucked up the map by making kill farming a thing that people focus on. And it seems like the entire map is done so quickly. I'm debating. Because kill farming, the way kill farming plays out on most of the maps, on most of the raids in Interchange, I feel like fucks up the dynamic. You'll get these super juiced players who will run in through the straight center of the map, kill somebody, and get out. How about the rats? People are just gonna play like rats on every map. I've seen rats on every map. I think, actually, I'm gonna put it in A tier, because I think power is a very well thought out mechanic that makes the map more interesting. I think they have done the multi-layer, getting fights across the 2 layers is fun. I'm putting Interchange where I feel like Interchange belongs, and that's that. Reserve, S tier, all day. Unquestionably, the best map in Tarkov. No questions asked. Anybody who disagrees doesn't like good Tarkov gameplay. Reserve spawns are single-handedly the worst aspect of Reserve, but I think everybody really sleeps on how interesting they make Reserve's extracts and the flow of the map. On customs, the flow of the map is really simple. People spawn on either side and they have to push across, right? There's no variation in that pattern. It's a column that you go across. And so Reserve, what they've done is, right, so they spawn everybody all the way around the map. All the loot is in the center, so everybody rushes in. They want to scrabble and get the loot. And then there's all these different extracts that all have their own levels of danger to them. You can get out through the lever, but you're announcing that you're going to leave with the lever. And you have to run across the entire fucking map after you've made that announcement. But it's accessible to anybody at any time, and if they want to use it, they can use it. But it's super dangerous to use. And then sewer extract, very accessible, relatively safe to take, but you don't get to take a backpack, so you can't scoop up as much loot. And then there's the train, which is available to everybody. You can take a backpack. You don't need to alert everybody that you're on the map, but you have to stay in the raid for an extended period of time in one of the most dangerous areas of the maps, where every single fucking scav in the entire map spawns and is lurking around looking for raider loot or any free shit they can get. And that is sort of the risk reward with that extract. Mountain extract can also be camped, and you need to invest a bunch of rubles into being able to even use the extract. And the last extract, D2, which is a much more friendly, always accessible extract. Yes, that is great map design. I think pressuring people and putting them into an uncomfortable choice, no matter which extract they choose, is awesome map design. Good design in a game is not about getting everything you want. It's about choosing what is most important to you and making calculated risks. I think Reserve is the best example of that. Right, so D2, it's much more accessible to everybody, but they didn't make D2 and then go like, oopsies, I didn't know that was like one of the most campable areas in the entire game. No, they knew that. They wanted to create this terrible claustrophobic area that could be camped, and you can just absolutely get fucking ass blasted in there. And that's why it's so risky, and it's accessible to everybody, but it's also just prone to gremlins. I think it has the best extract system out of any of the maps. It makes for a lot of interesting gameplay decisions, and the map has a lot of good angles for very long range combat, medium range combat, and close quarters combat. And the dynamic of pushing from area to area, like going between the buildings, for the most part, when you're playing that map, I feel like you want to hold a building, you want to keep around, see if anybody's approaching your building. And so then it can get really hectic if somebody somehow snuck into your building and now you have to play close quarters combat with them. All right, so that's how I feel about Reserve. Reserve is absolutely an S tier map. You cannot convince me otherwise. All right, here, I'll do Interchange because I feel like we're still a little bit hung up on Interchange from when I talked about it earlier. Interchange Night is worse. And here's why. Ooh, that's not why. It is it even D tier? No, I'll put it as C tier. So Interchange Night is just strictly worse because the lighting on Interchange just doesn't make any sense. It is the exact same level of brightness. Like here, I'll blow up this picture right here. Like if you just cover the top part of this image right here, right up here, this could be Interchange day or night, and you could have absolutely no fucking clue. So that's the thing. I actually don't know if there's any maps that I think are F tier. Like, I think they have done a really good job about making all of the maps interesting in their own unique ways. I will do D tier. I don't like, because Interchange Night is just somehow a map that changes in no real unique way from the regular map. Shoreline, my first wipe, I didn't really understand it, and I didn't play it. And then the second wipe, I started watching Geekse play that map, and that's like the only fucking map he played. And I swear to God, I watched him play this map for 2 months straight. And at the end of the 2 months, I still had no fucking clue where anything was on the map. So the fact that it's that confusing, I feel like bumps it's how good of a map it is down by a little bit. But I think Shoreline is a solid A tier map. Awesome loot, awesome PvP. The PvP I've had in Shoreline is consistently some of the funnest PvP you can have in the game. Like the flank routes of the multiple floors, the asymmetry of the floors where you can drop down really easily in some spots but not go up easily. The roof only has 2 access points. Some floors are closed off in certain areas. I think there's a lot of really cool, interesting map design with like the 3 wings and how you have to push between them. All right, Woods. Woods is another A tier map. You know, Woods last wipe was an A tier map. Woods this wipe I think is a B tier map. Yes, I think Woods got worse with the expansion because I think they were right on the perfect size of like players to map density, and they made it so you could pretty consistently run into players. And then they're like, all right, we're gonna double the size of the map and have the exact same number of players. And maybe it was even a little bit too many players you ran into on Old Woods. But now I feel like it is so easy to just literally never see anybody at Woods, except if you go to the sawmill and just camp the sawmill the entire raid. That doesn't feel right. I always felt anxious about crossing the shoreline part of the map, but I enjoy that anxiety. Tarkov is a game that the core basis of the game is anxiety, like making you feel anxious about these like tense combat situations. And Woods right now I feel like doesn't have any tension because I feel like you can try to find players and not find any players for huge stretches of time on that map. Old Woods, you were almost sort of guaranteed to find somebody near Sawmill, and I enjoyed that because it felt like it was a good place of interest and you could consistently get fights and have fun on the map. So I think Sawmill is the one sort of anchor that's keeping Woods interesting enough to pull people into an area. And I think the USEC camp is a pretty good example of that too. But overall, I feel like it's harder to find people consistently on Woods. Maybe I just need to play some more of it this wipe. Woods is just sniping factory. If you don't like Woods, you just don't like sniping. It's just a fucking, it's the exact same thing. There's nothing going on the map except for combat, and it's just sniping combat instead of close range quarters Chad combat. So now we're going to get into the interesting category of maps that don't actually exist yet. Streets of Tarkov promised to be a huge map, promised to be all sorts of cool close range combat in a town. The trailer's really cool, and consistently it seems like the maps have gotten better. I think I'm going to put Streets of Tarkov at a solid A tier. Based on how much I enjoy the combat on Reserve, the way for Streets of Tarkov is an F tier. Suburbs, I think is also another A tier map, purely on the basis of how much I enjoyed playing the Modern Warfare 2 Suburbs map. Lighthouse is the worst monument in Rust, and therefore it's in the F tier. If Reserve is any indicator of how that map is going to perform, it's going to perform like a sleeping dog covered in molasses. I think Terminal, I'm going to put it in A tier. Like the idea of fighting in between different like cargo containers and all of that for most of the map. I think Terminal will be a cool map. I think they've gotten so much better at designing maps over time. Any new map they come out with, I think is going to be phenomenal. You can look at this last year and see all the changes they've made. Like Reserve is the last full map they released. They did the Reserve expansion, which I think is a phenomenal addition to the map. Interchange expansion is probably the weakest of the expansions, and I think it still is great. Like the addition of all the alarms and the dynamic aspects of the map gives it like some really good loot to go toe-to-toe with Shoreline. The Customs expansion was phenomenal. The Woods expansion was great, except for the fact that they ruined the map density by literally doubling the size of the map. Town, let's say Town is going to be stinky based on the fact that, I don't know. Don't like it. Worst relative to other options. By that basis, boop, there we go. Fixed it. Day Factory is a map I will literally never play under my own choice. There we go. That's the tier list. Well, no, but that's the thing is I think there isn't a standard deviation towards the maps because by and large, they do make exceptionally good maps. Where's Mirage and Nuke? F tier because CSGO is a shit tier game. Thank you for coming to the Tarkov map tier list portion of this video. I will see you all on YouTube